Now, I remember being a kid and playing Star Wars The Force Unleashed, and yeah, I was dazzled by the cool force powers and everything you could do in the game, but there was always one question I had on my mind. Why is he holding his lightsaber like that? Now, here I am many years later, I think 10 years later now, fuck I'm old, and I've done a little bit of martial arts to say the least, and more importantly, I've learned a lot about different styles of knife combat, defensive and offensive. So, today, my name is Pliskin, and I'm gonna answer for you why he's holding his lightsaber like that and what implications that has in the real world and practical combat. Now, what you're seeing in front of you right now is called advanced grip. I'm sure you've seen this in movies and tons of games, Force Unleashed for example. Now, what are the benefits to holding a knife like this? Well, while your range is extremely limited, it becomes much harder to disarm you as your grip is a lot more tighter and natural feeling. Also, holding the knife this way protects your hand a lot better, as many knives, including this uber lethal butter knife, doesn't have a guard for your hands. So when you stab somebody, or when you're practicing with it, or you ram into something, the odds of the knife moving back and cutting you, causing injury, increases if you're holding it normally. In this grip, it's much harder for the knife to move around because again, you have a much tighter and natural grip. So in short, you get a much more natural, stronger grip, and there's less of a chance of injuring yourself. So why don't we go ahead right now and look into some examples from fiction where advanced grip is utilized in a practical way. Advanced grip is at its best when you're at extreme close ranges. So any depiction in a game and or movie where a character is extremely close to an opponent to the point where their bodies are already touching, it's probably a good time to use advanced grip. A good example of this would be when Snake is grabbing guys in Metal Gear Solid 5. You'll also see that in a lot of movies and games, for example Dishonored, whenever a character is crouching or sneaking through things, they're carrying the knife in advanced grip. This is because when you're crawling around or moving around quietly, you're generally going to want to have the knife pointing away from you. So advanced grip pretty much always keeps the blade away from your body, so if you're crawling or climbing something, there's much less of a risk of you getting cut. So at this point now you're probably asking, Pliskin, if advanced grip is so great and practical, why doesn't everyone use it all the time and why isn't it always depicted that way? Well, as I'm sure you'll be able to see here in this sparring footage, advanced grip has one major weakness, the lack of range that you get. So if you're going up against an opponent who's also armed with a knife, what you want above all else is range and ease of movement. Now you can see the guy wielding a karambit of an extremely tactical knife, extremely practical for defensive scenarios, constantly getting cut by the person using a more standard styled knife in a standard grip. This is because when you're holding a knife in standard grip, while you don't have the same force and control that you do while you're holding a knife in advanced grip, you have more options of movement. You can move quicker and more freely. And more important, you can stretch the knife further outwards, keeping the opponent's knife and the opponent in general away from your body, which in a knife fight is what you want above all else. So when you see movies where the guys are holding knives and they're keeping like the hand with the knife like behind themselves, like they'll put their other hand in front, or they'll be carrying knives in advanced grip, know that that isn't really practical in a knife fight. Advanced grip has its applications, but in a straight-on fight like this against someone with standard grip, you're going to be at a serious disadvantage. Bringing back our ultimate weapon, the butter knife, you can see here that I'm having a much easier time, a much more natural, fluid set of movements holding the knife in standard grip. That's because with standard grip, slashing becomes that much easier. You can also note that while it will diminish your grip even further, you can actually use your fingers to extend the range of the knife that you're using, making slashing offensively much less risky and a lot more practical because you can, again, reach further. However, keep in mind that unlike advanced grip, it is easier to disarm you this way. Still, standard grip has its place. Even though it doesn't look as cool as advanced grip, you can see just from here or look up any other sparring video, it's much more practical in a full-on knife fight. Dishonored once again portrays this accurately, whereas while you're stealthing, Corvo will hold the knife in advanced grip, when he's in combat or has been discovered and you need to block and fight your way out of something through blades, he'll switch to standard grip real damn fast. In Metal Gear Solid 3, Snake will, for the most part, use standard grip, as in he normally would use this when he's slashing at a guy right in front of him and going on a more offensive stance. However, when he's grabbing guys, keeping them close to him, interrogating them or holding them up, he'll switch over to advanced grip to give him a better advantage at those closer ranges and take advantage of the fact that the slightest movement from that position where he has the knife up against the guy's throat in advanced grip would be all it takes to finish him off. So there's another example of good switching between the two grips. Another realistic portrayal of knife play is Tomb Raider, where Lara Croft will use advanced grip when she's really close to enemies, but then also switch when she needs to get more range or it's just more convenient to stab. So this is another good realistic example of how advanced grip and standard grip would be utilized. Also, the jump down takedowns are a great example of when you'd want to use advanced grip to avoid injuring yourself. When you're flying down at someone, if you try to use standard grip, you're probably going to fuck up your wrist if you don't cut yourself. So in a situation where there's high and heavy impact, having advanced grip and then slamming down with force would be recommended over just going in with standard grip. A good example of a game that doesn't really know what it's doing and is just using advanced grip to make it look cool would be Days Gone, where Deacon will use advanced grip to just slash at his opponents that are further away, or even worse, have melee weapons that are longer than his. In these situations where you're up against opponents with melee weapons or you're slashing from far away, I've already explained why standard grip is much better. Also, whether you're slashing standard or advanced, you do not want to expose yourself or overextend yourself as much as Deacon is. He'll slash and then his entire body will twist, revealing his kidneys and organs and exposing his arm. It's like he's inviting them to attack him and get cut if he misses that slash. So Days Gone is one of those examples where it's just there to look cool, but it's not practical whatsoever. If someone tried to fight like this against someone else who was armed or knew what they were doing, they'd get their ass kicked. So Days Gone, absolutely not practical. So to finish off, let's go down over a rundown of form. How you're going to want to stand is with the hand with the knife in front of your body, because the knife is going to be the focal point of attack, not anything else. In movies where they have the hand behind the body, look how far I need to extend myself. Look at everything that I'm exposing on my body, everywhere where I can be hit. It's dangerous, it's not worth it, and my entire other arm, leg, face, everything else is exposed. So when you're in a knife fight, you don't want to do this. Instead, you keep the hand with the knife in front. The knife is your defense, it is your offense. Look at how I'm slashing here. There's much less space to be hit, and I'm much less extended. So whatever Hollywood shows you, do not stand with the knife back. The knife goes in front. That is everything in a knife fight. The knife and the distance between you and your opponent. If you remember that, you should have a good time. Another common misconception that I want to address now in fighting in general is the role height has to play. Normally, height doesn't matter, weight matters. In a knife fight though, height does matter, because greater height means longer length in your arms, longer extensions, longer range. So people who are taller, good for you, you have a serious advantage when it comes to knife fights. That being said, if you have the wrong form, even someone who's like 15 inches shorter than you will have the advantage. Alright guys, this has been Pliskin. I took a little bit more of a personal tone with this video, including myself and teaching you guys a little more directly some of the stuff that I know and have learned over the years. But what do you guys think? Does anyone have something to say about advanced grip, or do you call it something different? I'm only speaking from the way that I've been taught by people. So if there's other people who have learned different ways or have something to bring to the table, by all means, shoot it down below in the comments. I always love reading that stuff because, you know, with fighting or with anything really, what's the most important is options. And if we can all talk and give each other more options to get out of really tense scenarios, we'd all be better off. Now for a closing message to this video, I want to say, especially in these hard times when everyone's stressed out about quarantine, be kind to each other. I got into an argument with a guy the other day. He was convinced that M16s clean themselves, and don't know, I was just talking with him and trying to change the subject, but the guy got almost angry to the point where he was nearly violent. And it just made me think that, it's really important, even if you disagree with someone, to be able to live and let live. And when I was talking with him, he made me think of all those people like in YouTube comments or on Instagram, everywhere, where they just like to rant and argue. Life's short, be happy, don't stick around things that bother you too much. Be kind to each other. If you disagree with someone, fine, as long as they're not forcing you to live a certain way, leave it be. So yeah guys, this has been Pliskin, letting y'all know, keep being nice to each other, keep being safe. I hope you found this video interesting and or helpful. Anyways, over and out.